through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You ain't lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning. Good morning. On this beautiful Wednesday morning, welcome to Wire to Wire Network presents Coffee and Sports, the morning show. I am Gene. I'm sitting in for my man Chris, and to my right, I got no better than Mo Better. How you feeling today, Mo?
I'm doing good on a wonderful Wednesday, just ready to talk hoops and whatever else we can come up with on a beautiful Wednesday. Let's get it.
Listen, bro, you can say that, and I'm telling you right now, like, my ears are like, I'm plugged in right now. Team USA basketball is getting rolling. Kevin Durant's already out with a calf injury for the friendly against Canada tonight. They almost lost to the select team. Did you see that?
I saw that. I saw that scrimmage, and I was not disappointed in Team USA. I was more interested in the young guys on the select team and the talent that they have.
Cooper Flagg, man. He looked legit. The highlights from that scrimmage, Cooper Flagg looked everything as advertised. I don't see how he's not the number one overall pick in 2025. Like, I feel like that's already written in stone. I think he's one of the best prospects we might ever seen.
All I know is he looked comfortable out there with the best players on the planet, and he was giving as good as he got. Like, he looks like he's NBA ready right now, and that's saying something. Like, he just looks so in control, so composed. He's unique. He's one-on-one. Like you said, prospects like him, they don't come around very often. So, yeah, I'm excited, not for the upcoming college season, but when he actually gets into the pros.
I'm with you. I'm excited for the upcoming college season. I'm excited for it all. He's going to go to Duke. He's going to play a year at Duke. He's 17 years old, 6'8", and he played against some of the best basketball players in the world. And from every report I've seen, he was the best player on the select team, and it wasn't very close.
And you were getting that same feedback from some of the NBA players. You were getting props from LeBron, from Steph, and others that, like, this kid is legit. This kid is the real deal. When you get those kind of acclimates from established stars, that's letting you know that this guy's a hooper. Cooper's the real deal. Like, all I'm saying is the past draft that we just had, there are a lot of potential stars, maybe, but I'm looking at him. I don't think it's potential. I think this is an elite player. I think this is going to be a future superstar.
I completely agree with you. And speaking of Team USA, we can kind of add on to it a little bit. I'm sure you guys talked about this already, and I kind of want to look. All the comparisons to Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan were a little, obviously a little bit exaggerated early. That's fair, right? Anthony Edwards is a star. He's a stud, and seeing his mentality, you can kind of see where people get that Michael Jordan comparison. Going into this Olympics, Anthony Edwards was asked about, hey, how are you going to be able to handle maybe not being the number one option? His response was, oh, I'm the number one option. They got to play with me.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was really reminiscent of, do you remember the interview inside the hotel when they asked Michael Jordan on the Dream Team, and they said, so which one of you guys is going to take the last shot? And he goes, me. What do you mean? Me. At that point, and a lot of people don't remember 1992, Michael Jordan was the best player in the NBA, but it wasn't like it was like it is today. Like we look at Jokic as the best player in the NBA, and then you have Luka, you have Giannis, you have a bunch of guys that are right there with them, and there's no clear-cut number one. At that point, 91 season, Jordan had just taken that step above Isaiah Thomas and other guys in the league. Magic was on his way out. I think it was his last season, or he wasn't in the league, but he still played for the 92 Dream Team. Yeah. Bird wasn't even in the league anymore. Charles Barkley had just came off MVP season for the Phoenix Suns. So there was the conversations. Anthony Edwards having that conversation about being the number one option on Team USA got me thinking. Let me ask you a question. If the game is on the line and you have one guy who's the go-to guy on Team USA, who's the guy you want with the ball in the hand? If you're Steve Kerr, and now pretend you're not, Steph Curry's coach for the last 10 years, 15 years.
Right.
If you're Steve Kerr, who are you designing that last play for?
That is tough. If I'm Steve Kerr, I think I want the ball in LeBron's hands. I do, because he's the best. He's the best decision maker. But if I'm Steve Kerr, as cocky as Anthony Edwards is, though, I might be designing that play for either Steph or KD. I wouldn't design it for it. If it's 4 seconds left and you got time to raise up, catch and shoot, I think I'm going to trust Steph or KD over Anthony Edwards.
Listen, I'm very intrigued because this Team USA team really doesn't have a number one option. I think that you're right. I think, and Cottrell says it right here in the comments, give it to LeBron and then have Ant ready. I would design the play for LeBron James to have options.
Right.
And with a team that's that talented, hey, listen, you can drive the hole. If it's there, if they cave in on you, I'm confident you'll make the right read to the right player.
Exactly.
If you surround him with Steph Curry, Ant Edwards, Kevin Durant, and you have Joel Embiid in the paint, it to me feels like that's the move, right? Give LeBron the ball and have him make the best decision.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's the best decision maker, I think, in the history of basketball when it comes to situational basketball. And so with those kind of weapons at your disposal, Anthony Edwards, Durant, by the way, you could do a draw and kick to Embiid. Embiid's one of the best shooters in the league, and he's a center. Like that's the weapons that LeBron would have at his disposal. So, yeah, you give it to the best decision maker, and he has an abundance of options. So I love that. I don't think that's a complicated play. I think that would be a Steve Kerr just being Steve Kerr, like, LeBron, I'm going to give you the ball. Maybe we'll start off with a quick high screen, and then you attack, and you make a decision.
I do want to address this. Cottrell said Steph doesn't hit game winners. KD is a great option. Hey, man, Steph Curry has not had a team around him that will allow him to get a clean three-pointer up in, 7-8 years? So when you have LeBron James being able to create, I don't care if it's 1 second left or 15 minutes left. If I get Steph Curry for a wide open three, I don't care what it is. I'm giving the ball to Steph Curry. And it doesn't hit game winners. If he's open, Steph Curry will hit the game winning three.
If Steph is in a position where he literally can just catch and raise up, I'm feeling good about that situation all day.
Like a free throw for anybody else.
Right. And matter of fact, I'll go you a step further. If Steph can catch and shoot from 35 feet, I'm still feeling pretty good. Let me ask you
a question, just fun question. We'll get into Cottrell's question there too. But what do you think is a more probable thing of happening? A Steph Curry wide open three-pointer or a Joel Embiid free throw? And I'm saying a wide open three-pointer. Nobody's there in the open gym. Let's just say both of them shoot 100. Joel Embiid shoots 100 free throws. Steph Curry shoots 100 three-pointers. What do you think would be more probable?
Who would make more
in
the end? Honestly, I actually think Joel Embiid. He's He's an amazing free throw shooter. I don't care what anybody says, and not for a big man, for any man. So yeah, I would take Embiid shooting free. As great as Steph is, I'm going to take Embiid making more free throws than Steph makes threes.
All right, so I want to get to this point right here. He said, "What five do you have on the floor in that moment?" And a five that I said out loud. It's funny because there is controversy around this, and I probably shouldn't have just said those five out loud without having context, because there is a debate, there is an argument. My five at the end of the game is Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid. I would love to know what your five is, because a lot of people have Tatum. I think Tatum's in the starting lineup. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I'm sure the Kevin Durant calf injury will really play to that, because Tatum will definitely play if Durant's sitting for his friendly. I would love to know what the five is that you'd have on the court at the end of the game.
I'm not that creative. My five mimics your five. I think that's the most versatile five if you're closing out. Like, and look, I trust KD, Anthony Edwards, Steph Curry, even LeBron. If he just out and out attacks, I trust all of them, including Embiid, more than I would trust Tatum in that situation. That doesn't mean that if Tatum wasn't on the floor, I wouldn't go to him. But you're talking about a closing lineup, let's say the last 2 minutes of the game in a tight game, I'm going with that five.
I'm also playing offense defense, right? If I have the option to play offense defense, if I need a bucket, that's the five I'm going with. If we're with defense and we need to stop the last play of the game, I'm subbing out Steph, I'm stubbing out Ant Edwards, and I'm bringing in Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum. And I'm literally playing five wide and being able to switch on a lot of different things. How do you feel about that, like a defensive possession?
That totally makes sense. And by the way, we don't talk about this enough. Jason Tatum's an underrated defender. He's actually a pretty good damn defender. So I'm doing that too. I'm going offense, defense, definitely. I think that's where Tatum will make his bones. He'll come in there with Drew Holiday, and they're both versatile defenders. They can switch on everything. So I would absolutely do that. I love that idea. I think that's where the value would come with Tatum's length, with Holiday's quickness and size. I like that idea all day long. Like you sub in offense, defense. I think offense, defense, in some ways, Anthony Davis has more value as well, because Anthony Davis as a big man has the ability to switch out and play in space where most big men can't play in space. So yeah, I'm definitely subbing in and out.
See, I could see you subbing out if it's a smaller lineup. I could see you subbing out Joel Embiid for Anthony Davis and being able to have five guys that can switch, because as good as Joel Embiid is, Anthony Davis is a lot more versatile defender. And if you do not have a 7-footer on the team for the other team, putting Anthony Davis in there to where he can switch and get on top, I actually really like that.
Yeah, and like you said, Embiid is one of the best rim protectors in basketball, but what Anthony Davis can do that he can't do is he can play in space better. Correct. So you would literally have five guys that could just switch out and guard whatever situation they have to go with. So I love that. I love the versatility of Team USA.
All right, I'm going to get a little bit selfish when we get off Team USA. I had a debate with a friend of mine, and I wanted to bring it to the morning show. And I'm super excited to talk about this. And this debate was the Philadelphia 76ers versus the New York Knicks. He's a Knicks fan. And we were talking about starting lineups, and we were talking about like being able to break the two teams down of what we like better. Now that it seems as if both rosters are almost completely constructed, I'm sure there'll be, tits and tats. Right. I want to be able to give you, and just going to be unbiased here, anything that you say, I'm taking it. And we're going to use the cups of coffee reference, because there is a difference, right? So like what I mean by that is Jalen Brunson's better than Tyrese Maxey, but not by a whole lot, right? Like Jalen Brunson's a cup of coffee above Tyrese Maxey.
It's closer than people would think. It is, because Maxey's still elevating. He's not even reached his peak.
Correct. So what I mean by that is the difference between Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Maxey is a lot closer than the difference of Joel Embiid versus Mitchell Robinson.
No question.
Okay, so we got to do it in the form of cups of coffee. 1 cup of coffee means, Jalen Brunson's shade better, Tyrese Maxey. We're going to go all the way up to 5 cups of coffee.
Okay.
We're going to go through the starting lineup. We're going to go through the bench, just the bench as a whole, and then head coach. And I want you to tell me what you'd rather have, position for position. 76ers start lineup right now, pulling it up. I think I know exactly what it's going to be, but I'm pulling the depth chart up just to make sure that we have the same thing. Okay, that's exactly what I thought it would be. A Knicks start lineup looks like DiVincenzo would be starting over Hart. So it looks like through their depth chart. No, they have Mikal Bridges at the 2, OG, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, with Josh Hart and DiVincenzo coming off the bench.
Right.
Okay.
Their bench just got deeper.
All right, so let's go through it one by one. Tyrese Maxey, Jalen Brunson.
Am I giving a cup of coffee or?
Yeah, you're giving a cup of coffee. Mo, this is 100% on you. I'd be biased. I'll give you my opinion at the end, but I would be biased here. So I need you to give the cup of coffee here. So we're going to see who has the better team, the 76ers or the Knicks.
So to me, if you go off of last year, you would give Brunson the edge. But the way my mind works is I'm living in the now and what Tyrese Maxey is elevating to be. I actually think that matchup is even. You might even give an edge to Maxey because I really don't think he's hit his peak yet. It's close, and he hasn't hit his peak. So I would give a slight edge, I guess a half a cup of coffee to Brunson. I think it's closer than people want to realize.
Okay. So in the interest of keeping the track of the math, we'll give 1 cup of coffee edge to Jalen Brunson. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. The starting 2-guard position right now for the 76ers is listed as Kelly Oubre Jr. The starting 2-guard for the New York Knicks is listed as Mikal Bridges.
I would give Bridges the edge, although the interesting thing is their skill sets are very similar. They're very similar. And Bridges, to me, is – I know he was with the Nets, and with the Nets he averaged 20-plus points per game. But what he showed you was he couldn't be the guy. He couldn't be the guy on a winning team. I think Bridges on the Knicks, on a title contender, in terms of option, Bridges is a 2 or maybe a 3. I don't think he's going to be an out-and-out second option on that. I think people go by name recognition and think that Bridges is 5 levels ahead of Oubre. I think he has an edge over Oubre, but I don't think it's 3 or 4 cups. I'll give him a cup.
Okay. Control checked in with 2. We'll just stay with 1. My thought process is this, and I completely agree with you. I think it's really tough to do this, but I think Mikal Bridges went from one of the most underrated players in the NBA when he was the 3rd option for the Phoenix Suns,
right,
to one of the more overrated, and I hate saying this out loud, but one of the more overrated players in the NBA when he was playing for Brooklyn being the number 1 option. I think he's somewhere in between. He's a very good player. I think it's 2 cups of coffee difference. We'll go with yours, which is 1. 2 cups of coffee difference for the New York Knicks.
Okay.
The 3, OG Anunoby versus, looks like the Sixers are going to roll out Paul George at our 3.
I actually think on this one, Paul George has got 2 cups of coffee. You could almost say their skill sets are similar. The difference is offensively, Paul George could give you 28 or 30 on a given night. OG doesn't have that kind of bag. OG is a guy who's going to give you 16 to 18 on a good night. He's not a natural scorer. Paul George is a natural scorer. Paul George is capable of having a 35-point night on a night when Embiid or Maxey don't have it. OG doesn't have that in his bag, so I'm giving Paul George 2 cups.
So you've made it even. I don't have to do any math. Cottrell says Paul George is a much better player than OG, but I think OG has a great fit for New York. In terms of impact, it's probably 2 cups. But skill-wise, player for player, I'm leaning 3. But that's okay. Based off what he said, so Cottrell, just keep checking home, is that even also? Right. He had 2 cups of coffee difference, but then he gave 3 cups for PG. So you guys both are even after 3 guys on the floor. Let's go to the 4. I think this is a pretty big advantage. I have a 2-cup advantage here. You might not. I know you're not his biggest fan. I'm not his biggest fan. But Caleb Martin and Julius Randle are both set to be the 4. I would lean towards a 2-cup of coffee advantage for the Knicks, but I don't like the way. Like, I think the Knicks are a better team
without Randall.
Yes, with Mikal
exactly.
and OG and Dante starting and having Josh Hart be your defender or rebounder. But that starting lineup they're looking at right now is Julius Randle versus Caleb Martin.
So I look at it this way. When they get to play each other is what matters. What Julius Randle does in the regular season means little to me. If you're going talent-wise, Julius Randle would have a 2.5 cup, maybe 3 cup advantage.
Yeah.
But we're talking about fit and impact on your team. I don't think he has a clear-cut advantage. I would give him maybe a cup because on the current Knicks team, I want to remind people, when Julius Randle went down, the Knicks were in 5th place. Without Julius Randle, the ball moved better. More people touched the ball, even though Brunson is ball dominant. They went from 5th seed to 2 seed without Julius Randle for a couple of reasons. One, Julius Randle's a black hole. If he gets the ball, you're not getting it back. 2, as talented as he is, his shot selection is god awful. All he does is take contested threes. And more importantly, as big and powerful as he is, he's an awful defender. He's a poor defender. They got better on both sides of the ball. So in this matchup, I'm not giving Julius Randle this huge advantage because I'm looking at fit. Caleb Martin has a role. He's a defender and he's a catch and shoot 3-point guy. And I think he's gonna ride. He's gonna fit that role to a T. And also what I would say about the Sixers lineup, there's versatility. Martin's like 6'8". So is Oubre. So is Paul George. There will be times when Paul George will be at the 4. So I don't want you to think of the Sixers as he's the 4, he's the 3, because it's a versatile lineup. So it's not set in stone. I say that to say this. Yes, I'll give the Knicks an edge, but not the edge that most people would say. I'll give them a cup, but I just don't think it's that big a separation because I don't think Randall's going to fit with this current roster.
I agree with you. I think their best opportunity is to have Josh Hart or Dante DiVincenzo play the 2, sliding down Mikal Bridges to the 3 and OG to the 4. I think that's their best lineup. But for this exercise, we'll go 1 cup advantage for you, a 3 cup advantage for Cottrell. He's been on top of it, so let's stay there. Joel Embiid versus Mitchell Robinson.
All right, so I'm going like 5 cups, Joel Embiid. You don't have to agree with me, but I don't think this is close. The things that Mitchell Robinson does well, it's rim protect and rebound. Well, Joel Embiid does both of those things as well or better than Mitch. Those are his best things, and Joel Embiid does them better. More importantly, with Mitchell Robinson in the game, you can foul him at will. You can foul him at the rim because he can't make free throws. The amazing thing about Joel Embiid, he will butcher your front court by getting to the foul line. Joel Embiid will shoot 12 to 14 free throws in a matchup versus the Knicks front line. This isn't close. To me, this is where there's a clear-cut separation. I'm going 5 cups.
Okay, so you have the 76ers plus 4 cups. Cottrell has them plus 1. He gave 4 cups for Mitchell. And I'm just here listening because I think the other big separator on these two teams is bench and depth.
This is true.
For the Knicks, they're going to be able to bring up Deuce McBride, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Jericho Sims. We'll go the next 4. For the 76ers, granted, love the guy. Let me just be clear. We're going to bring up the rookie, Jarrett McCain. You'll see Ricky Council Jr. and Andre Drummond. 76ers really need to Eric Gordon. I'm sorry, I missed Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon, Andre Drummond, Jarrett McCain, and Ricky Council Jr. I think this is almost as big an advantage for the Knicks as Joel Embiid is for the 76ers.
No, I would. I think the bench is what separates them. If I was going to look at these two teams, I would tell you that I love the Sixers top side advantage when you look at the starting lineups. On the flip side, when you start going to depth, I think that's what made the Knicks as good as they were last year. This is minus Randall. it was their depth. And by adding Bridges and you send a couple of those other guys to the bench, I think that's a clear advantage. So if we're going on depth, I would give the Knicks 3 cups.
Okay. So currently, the 76ers is a 1 cup advantage, and Cottrell hasn't put his comment in here. That's okay. But I would give them a 3 cup advantage on their bench. So I'm with you. The last but not least, and I think this matters, I really think this matters, is head coaching. Head coaching for the Knicks versus the 76ers. Where's your advantage here?
I'm going Sixers. I think Tom Thibodeau is a good coach, but he's very old school. I don't think he does a lot of in-game adjustments. I would definitely give the edge to the Sixers. I'm going to give the Sixers a 2 cup advantage at the coaching spot. Tibbs' coaching style is really basic. The defense, you can see his influence on that end, but offensively, he has no influence on the offense at all, and he doesn't make any adjustments. If anybody's pro Julius Randle, it's Tom Thibodeau. You'll see it. You'll see it throughout this season. And if the Knicks get off to a slow start, I guarantee you, it will be because they're Julius Randle centric, and they will have made the mistake to tell Julius Randle it's yours and Jalen Brunson's team, and that's not the truth. It's Jalen Brunson's team, and Julius Randle needs to fit into it. So I would definitely give the Sixers the edge in coaching. I just don't think Tom Thibodeau is a great in-game coach.
I completely agree with you. Cottrell, this is the one spot where I'm going to completely disagree with you. I don't think you were that far off on this entire thing. I think that I could understand your point and perspective. I do not think this is even when coaching. Tom Thibodeau has won nothing in the NBA. Nick Nurse has. Yes. I think Nick Nurse is schematically better. I think he preps his team better. And I think this is a 2 cup advantage for the 76ers. That was a fun exercise. I just had a debate with a friend of mine that I work with who's a Knicks fan, and we couldn't agree on anything. Just for fun, who would you rather have on your team, Caleb Martin or Dante DiVincenzo?
Oh, that's a really good one. They're very similar.
That was our biggest argument.
They're very similar. They're both dogs, and I'm really partial to Caleb Martin and what he did, what I saw him do in Miami, what I saw him do in Miami versus Boston in big situations. I love what DiVincenzo did this past season, but if I'm picking, I just think in DiVincenzo's a dog, but I think Caleb Martin's even more of a dog. So I'm gonna go with Caleb Martin. He's a guy who at times is undersized, but he plays bigger than his size.
Completely agree with you. All right, we're going to wrap up a little NBA talk with Chris Paul. And I thought this was a great story. And knowing that his biggest fan, Cottrell, is in the chat, it would be fun for us to talk about this. I love his press conference, the Spurs press conference he had. And Chris Paul opted to play more minutes. I love nothing more than the opportunity to play and contribute and hoop. My family is everything. My wife is here. My kids are back in LA, and that's where they will be during the season. And I love basketball so much that I could be close to home, but if I'm not playing, I'm not happy. I love my family to death, so we saw this opportunity. Even though it'll put me away from my family knows me better than anybody, and they know I just want to play. I want to play more than anything, and that's what I'm grateful for and more grateful to be here. Not every day do you see a player that says, I'm not going to ring chase. I want to play. I love that, right? Chris Paul's going to end his career with no rings. He's going to be CP 0 rings, and that's what he's going to go down as. That is what it is. But I love that he had a press conference to say, hey, look, I went to Golden State to kind of ring chase and see if I could do that. And it just didn't sit well with me. I would much rather play and contribute than ring chase. Your thoughts on the comments?
I just thought it summed up who Chris Paul is as a basketball player and as a guy. He's a hooper. He's a true hooper. And he, to his point, he went to Golden State thinking maybe they can make another run and he could be a big part of that. That didn't happen. I think that there's some things that you regret. If he could do it over, he would have never gone to Golden State. Those guys were his enemies for the longest time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those were his adversaries. I don't think that set well with him. I love it that he went to the Spurs knowing that, okay, I'm not going to win any rings, but you know what? I'm going to get playing time. I'm going to compete, and I can have a big impact on Wemby's career coming up. I can show this man how to be a professional, the work it takes to put into being a true superstar. Like, I don't doubt for one moment that with Chris Paul on their roster, in their locker room, the Spurs are going to be better. They're going to be much better. And knowing Chris Paul the way that I've known him over these years, watched him, I think Chris Paul has already got the mindset of, I'm going to push Wemby. I'm going to push all these other guys. I'm going to see if we can make ourselves a fringe play-in team. Like, I think Chris Paul always thinks win first. Let's win. Let's hoop. Let's win. I think that's the mentality. And if Wemby embraces that, they're going to be interesting and going to be fun to watch.
I've already predicted that team makes the playoffs this year.
Okay.
I don't know how.
I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's crazy.
I think they make the playoffs this year. And not just the play-in.
Yeah, look, I think out west, I said this on the morning show before, there's going to be a couple of teams that made the playoffs this season that they won't make the playoffs this season. And one of the reasons why I thought that Chris Paul would push the Spurs to be a fringe playoff team, but I also want to remind people, Memphis is coming back fully healthy. That's a playoff team fully healthy. There's going to be a couple of teams that don't make the playoffs this year.
I agree with you 100%. We're going to wrap up NBA talk with that. I'm not sure how much of Hard Knocks you've kept up with, but the New York Giants are the offseason Hard Knocks right now. And episode 2, there was a really awkward phone conversation. And I'm not sure if you heard it. It was between Joe Schoen and Saquon Barkley. And I want to share the transcript for anybody that didn't hear it. So I'm going to read it. So Joe Schoen called Saquon Barkley, I'm summarizing it first, and said, hey, I believe the right thing to do is to let you test the market. We're not going to do the whole franchise thing. We did that last year. I didn't like it. You didn't like it. It didn't really work out. Saquon Barkley said, all right, I appreciate that. Then Joe he goes, but if you really want it to be a Giant for life, you give us an opportunity. So can you promise me you'll give us an opportunity? He goes, what do you mean? Like circling back is what Saquon said. He explained that he had already told the franchise where he wanted to be. Schoen appreciates Saquon Barkley for what he does for an organization, and then basically gave him so weird. He gave him we really appreciate what you did for the organization. And if this doesn't work out, and you really don't want to be a Giant for life, then we wish you the best. But can you promise me? Can you promise me you'll call us and let us know what they offer you so we can kind of see if we can match it? Saquon handled it like a professional, but when you watch it and when you hear it, it comes off so awkward and cringy. And I wanted to get your take on that. They essentially, on the first episode, showed how, we're not going to value him at $12 million. We're not valuing him there. Doesn't make sense. No team is going to trade us for that franchise tag that we can franchise him, try to trade him. They're not going to give him an asset worth getting for us to do that. So we're not going to franchise him.
Right.
They said that on the first episode. On the second episode, they got in a conversation where the GM called Saquon, not his agent, called Saquon himself and said, hey, we're just going to let you know we're not going to franchise it. We feel like that's the right thing for you. We went through that last year, and now we're in this predicament where we're going to let you test your market to see what you're worth. But can you promise me that you'll come back and tell us what you're worth? It was so weird, and it was just like one of those things that I felt super awkward. And Saquon basically is like, what do you mean, like circling back? He's like, I already told you where I want to be at. So I just love your thoughts on that. And I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in episode 3 if, he did call them back and say, hey, they're offering me $13 million a year. Are you guys going to match it? And the Giants said no. We haven't found that out yet. But what I did know is it was a very awkward conversation. I like your thoughts on
it. I thought that if you listen to the conversation, when you have to say, can you let us know when you test free agency what your value is? Can you come back and let us know? If I'm Saquon, I'm listening to that and I'm like, you don't value me. You don't value me. Like I feel like you don't value me, and you think if I hit the market that nobody else will value me either. Like the best I can get is from what the Giants are going to offer. I love that Saquon was professional, no attitude. He handled it really well. But I just thought, like you said, in listening to the conversation, it didn't feel right. It felt very wrong. It felt odd and awkward, and like I would rather you just say that we can't pay the $12 million, and we realize that we're not going to be able to keep you, and thank you so much for everything you've done. I would have left it at that rather than all the weirdness in between about, well, if you come back and you get an offer, can you let us know what your value is in the market? As if he went to the Eagles and the Eagles said, this is what we value at, which they did, he went back and the Giants were going to go, we could probably match that. Like, the Giants weren't going to go that high because they didn't value him there.
I have the exact, let me read you the exact words, because I was kind of I pulled up the transcript. Can you give me your word on that, or are you not going to give us a chance? Schoen says in a phone call with Barkley on March 5th. Barkley responds, I already told you where I want to be. That was the exact, can you give me your word on that, or are you not going to give us a chance?
Right.
That was the exact line.
It's all awkward and weird because he wouldn't have to give you his word or give you a chance if you valued him and you paid him. I don't understand why you're having that conversation. Clearly, you don't value him enough, which is why he's a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. But it's not like, because I've heard Giants fans talk about like, oh, Saquon, he sold out. Like the guy's got to make a living. The guy's got to make a living, and he should be valued for his talent. Hey, how he does. He valued Saquon for his talent. I think Saquon's going to be tremendous. Chris and I talked about this maybe a couple of days ago. I said, when you look at the Eagles, I'm talking offensively, Saquon Barkley has a skill set that's very similar. I'm not saying he's as good, but he has a skill set that aligns with what Christian McCaffrey can do. Saquon Barkley can get you 13, even 1,500 yards. He can also get you another 400 or 500 yards out of the backfield. Like, he's that kind of football player. I think he's going to have a big year for the Philadelphia Eagles, cut and dry.
I completely agree with you. And like, I thought just like, as an Eagles fan, right? Watching that conversation, I never felt more confident in not worrying about the New York Giants. Like, it almost like 2 episodes in, and I feel like the Giants are doing themselves a disservice by putting themselves on. Normally, teams come off Hard Knocks and they're like the darlings. Like, you love players and you find things that you love. And the Giants have been 2 episodes in, and in both episodes, they've come away not smelling great. Is that a fair way to put it?
That is a fair way to put it. Yeah. Yeah. I watch Hard Knocks, and I get caught up in the stories, and not just the stories of the guys that are like that are drafted late and trying to make the team, but you get caught up in the stories of the front office, and you go like, man, I didn't really know anything about this guy, but this is a true football guy. Like, he's really invested. And he's not the jerk that I thought he was. And then you look at the Giants front office and their dealings, at least how they've handled things so far, and you're like, that's the way they run things over there. Like, wow, no wonder there's a struggle.
Not too much on the NFL circuit this week. I just wanted to go over that because Hard Knocks has been, I love Hard Knocks.
It's addictive. It's addictive.
It is. MLB All-Star Game. It looks like we're going to have a very, very light home run derby. Home run derby. Have you seen this? Like, I know that you probably talked a little bit about with JG, but it's not. Now, thank God J-Ram joined the home run derby field, because it's a very light field. Now, there's a couple up and coming guys. I feel like this all-star game has been very, I don't know how to explain it. It's been very, it almost comes off as the Rising Stars game, right? It comes off as like this is like a up and comers game. No Judge, no Harper. You're missing no Ohtani. You're missing 3 of the best home run hitters in the Derby. Here's what we're looking at. I'm going to read it off to you. Gunnar Henderson, 7 MVP-like season, 23-year-old shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles. Pete Alonso, there's your home run hitter. Bobby Witt Jr., another young shortstop for the Kansas City Royals. And then they just added Jose Ramirez, Marcell Ozuna. And then for whatever reason, Jose Ramirez and Marcell Ozuna are great additions. They just added them. But for whatever reason, out of all the Philadelphia Phillies players that are making the All-Star team and they're going to be there, Alec Bohm, who's not a home run hitter, it's 11 home runs in the season, is in the home run derby. Very underwhelming.
You know what? You would like to see some of the bigger bats in there. You would like to see the bigger names, and maybe the theme of this particular All-Star game is that there's a new wave, if you will. Like, I think this year there's like 32 new All-Stars. First time on, like
number.
That's that, and I don't know if that's a record or close to a record, but when I saw that, I was like, 32 new All-Stars. That's crazy. That's insane.
Also, the All-Star game will feature Pirates rookie sensation pitcher Paul Skeens. He has been as advertised. You're talking about a kid that could be one of the best pitchers in baseball. I mean, he already is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's only started. Like, I guess we'll find out what happens when the league adjusts to him. Every pitcher has those growing pains, but he's got dynamic stuff. And he was the baseball's number 1 prospect, and he was that for a reason. This kid Skeens is incredible. He made the All-Star team, missing all of April, not even being called up until after April. He's been lights out with a sub-3 ERA. I think it's 2.3 ERA. Let me pull it up real quick. I'd rather give you guys the exact stats. Yeah, 2.12 ERA. His first game started was May 11th.
That's insane. I think the crazy part is, look, as a fan, when you watch the All-Star game, you'd like to see Skeens go up against that top of the order. You know what I mean? Just against some of the best, just for the fun, for the competition of it, and then get him out of there. But I hope that happens. Those are the little nuances and things that I look for when I watch the All-Star game, stuff like that. Just the little matchups here and there. When I look at the home run derby, it's one of my favorite parts of the whole All-Star function. And the idea that you don't have a lot of the bigger bats, it's a little disappointing, but then at the same time, you have some young up-and-coming guys. Who knows? They might surprise everybody and put on a show. I know I'm going to watch. I know that much. I'm going to be there. I'm going to watch. And hopefully that's what we get. We get a great show.
I completely agree with you. I think I've always loved the home run derby. They're changing the format again this year, which I actually think they should. I'm not upset about that at all. I think they should be changing the format. But with that being said, I'm underwhelmed. I would love to see Harper. I would love to see Judge. I would love to see Ohtani. The 2 darlings of baseball, the 2 MVP front runners, Ohtani and Judge, looks like both of them won't be in the home run derby.
Yeah, that's disappointing to me. Like I said, you go there as a fan, you watch as a fan, whether you're there or at home. You want to see Ohtani, you want to see Aaron Judge go out there with those big bats. And really, I know they're competing against others, but you're really wanting to see them compete against each other. That's what you want to see. And it's disappointing that neither one of them are going to be in the competition. So, yeah, I hate that. Let me ask you this. I know you watch a lot of baseball. You consume tons of baseball. Is it good for the league? Is it good for the league to have so many new, I guess, first-time All-Stars?
I mean, it's almost come off as like a Rising Stars game. I think it's great for the league. Here's the truth, right? And this is one of the things that I look at. Baseball has errors, right? Just like any other sport, just like basketball, just like the NFL, it has errors. And coming out of I say right now we're in the Judge, Harper, Ohtani era. I think that those are the three most polarizing names in baseball. I don't know if you agree with me or not. I'm not saying they're the best, but I think they're the three biggest names in baseball. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Bryce Harper. Then there's like a 4 to 5 year gap where you're like kind of like always looking for the next one, right?
Right.
In 3 or 4 years, Gunnar Henderson, who's an incredible shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles, Bobby Witt Jr., who's an incredible shortstop for the Kansas City Royals, Ellie De La Cruz, you got Paul Skeens, and you got a new rookie, Reese Hines, for the Cincinnati Reds. They got another one. This kid came up. He's only played 2 games, hit 2 bombs. He's a 23-year-old prospect, and this guy's hit a 458-foot homer and a 421-foot homer in his major league debuts, first 2 days. I think that baseball's in a great position to where they have so much young talent that's going out there daily that it would be almost like fast forward 3 years from now, the NBA platform is going to be Victor Wembanyama, Cooper Flag, Luka Doncic, Anthony Edwards. Like, you now know the next ones. I was struggling for a long time knowing who was going to be the next generation of basketball after Steph and LeBron.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want to hand the torch to Jason Tatum. His aura is just terrible.
No,
But
I'm with you.
You can be comfortable handing it to a Wembanyama, Cooper Flag, and Anthony Edwards, and a Luka Doncic.
No, I agree 100%. Look, and it's not to say that I don't think Jason Tatum's a star in the league or an accomplished guy, but there are guys that in different eras, they're just not quite the guy, and they get caught in the middle. And I think Jason Tatum's the caught in the middle guy. Right now he's in the Luka Joker era. Anthony Edwards is coming up. And then you've got Cooper Flag, who hasn't even hit the league yet, but they're coming up, and he's in their era. There's never going to be a time when it's all said and done, and Tatum's going to be a Hall of Famer. Anybody?
Yeah.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Nobody's going to question his career, but when it's all said and done, you're going to say, was there ever a time in Jason Tatum's career that he was the best player in basketball? They're going to throw that out there. Now, I am not anti-Jason Tatum, but if you're asking me, right now, today, he's never been the best player in basketball. And I'm guessing, projecting ahead, he will never be the best player in basketball. I'm not killing Jason Tatum, Celtics fans. He is an elite talent. I think he's a top 10 player. A lot of people don't even have him top 10, but he's never going to be the best player in basketball. If the Celtics win another title, it'll be because of their team. It's what they are. They do everything as a unit. Nobody's going to say Tatum did it again. Like this is the Tatum era. They're not going to say that. They're going to say this Celtics team, they had a run and they won 2 titles. It'll be sort of like had Chauncey Billups' Pistons team won 2 titles, nobody would have said the dominant player in that team was this. There wasn't a dominant player. They just were a terrific team. That's how I feel about the Celtics. Again, I'm not killing Jason Tatum. I just think that's a fair call to say he's probably never going to be recognized at any point in his career as the best player in the league.
I do want to, and I agree with you 100%. And I think that baseball is in a really good era. And I think they're on a huge upswing because they have a bunch of young stars that are exciting to watch. Like Ellie De La Cruz, if anything, he's just super exciting to watch. Paul Skeens, if anything, he's a strikeout pitcher, power pitcher. Like, yeah, there's hidden pitchers that come up that are very, they're great, like the Greg Maddux type. They're very great with their control, but there's nothing more exciting than Randy Johnson mowing a fastball down. What Pedro Martinez used to do. They were exciting to watch, and that's what Paul Skeens reminds me of a guy that just can overpower you. I do want to end the show with this. I know you guys talked a little bit about it on Monday. I wanted to get my 2 cents in. And how did you feel? First of all, we'll start this. I want to get your opinion here before I give any of mine. How did you feel about Saturday's premium live event, Money in the Bank?
I thought it was okay. It wasn't the best pay-per-view I've seen. I'm good. I love storytelling. I didn't like the Drew McIntyre or CM. I know there's a story and they're setting that up. I guess I just didn't like the ending of that match. That match might have been the one that annoyed me the most. I pretty much knew what was going to happen with Cody and the whole thing with the bloodline, because there's a bigger component. And we all know who we're talking about. He's not there yet. But he's coming back, right? We know he's coming back. So I mean, overall, I enjoyed it, but I guess that particular match bothered me a little bit just because I didn't think that was necessary. Like, how many times do we have to make Drew McIntyre be the guy that comes up just short over and over and over and over and over? After a while, I think that bit gets old.
I almost felt like they just completely disregard the men's Money in the Bank. The briefcase is completely gone at this point. I thought the match was good. I felt like it was too quick. I felt like it needed to be longer. I thought the women's Money in the Bank matchup was a million times better. I think it had a way better ending. I love how Tiffany Stratton and what's her name? The girl with Piper Niven, Chelsea Green, were setting up the tables together, and the match ends with Chelsea Green going through those tables that she set up with Tiffany Stratton together. Tiffany Stratton ends up putting her through those tables. There was Lila Valkyrian performed incredible. I don't know how Zoe Stark is still alive after some of the falls that she took in that match, but I felt like that was a great match. But there was way too many botch, and it's crazy to me. And I love that Triple H is talking about bringing in a women's United States and a women's Intercontinental title, because the women's division has been almost flawless and has some of the best storylines in it. And we're going to get to the other one shortly, but I felt like the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was a lot better than the men's.
It was.
And then the Sami Zayn Braun Breaker match didn't make sense to me. As much as I didn't want Sami to drop the belt to Braun this quick, a clean pin off of one haluva kick after you've completely built this guy up as this like monster just didn't come off the right way to me. There was a lot of botched stuff with the Damian Priest not kicking out. I don't know. Let me ask you a question.
That blew my mind, by the way, Priest not kicking out. I was like, did we just miss a pin? That's a pin, right?
100%. And Seth Rollins reacted perfectly. But what did you think happened there? Do you think Damian just forgot to kick out? Do you think the music for Drew was supposed to play and it was supposed to move off camera? Do you think he actually got knocked out when he hit Seth's knee and dazed himself? Like, what did you think happened there?
I actually thought he was dazed. I do. I think he was more discombobulated than people realize, and that can happen. But I think that's exactly what happened. That he got a little dazed. He was a little stunned, and he did not react to the kick out or anything. So I think that's exactly what happened. It was like you said, it was botched. The Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker, I totally agree with you. I didn't understand that. Not that Sami had to drop the belt, but you've built up Braun Breaker to be like this. I use the term, I guess, a modern day Goldberg, kind of like Tori. So he's this monster who just runs through everybody. And Sami Zayn is going to be the guy that takes him out with his signature move. And just one of them, like you would think it would take like 3 of those to pin Braun Breaker, because he's a monster. You built him up that way, and that didn't make sense to me.
Completely agree. Well, I'm going to move forward because I didn't think the premium live event was that good. But for everything that premium live event missed, it completely made up with NXT Sunday Night, and even more made up with Monday Night Raw. Was incredible. One of the best Monday Night Raws I've seen in a long time. And I want to start with this might be bold. This might be crazy. This might be, I don't know. I think the best 2 wrestlers on the mic are Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And they've now had 2 promos that they've cut in the ring. And both promos have been absolute gold. Perfection. A+++. I love them. I love that promo on Monday night with Seth and CM Punk. And I think what you're doing is they're setting up Punk versus Drew, where Seth is going to interfere. And I think you're really getting towards Seth Rollins, CM Punk, heavyweight championship, WrestleMania.
I think that's exactly what they're setting up. I think Seth is going to cost CM Punk an opportunity. And ultimately, the matchup is going to be Seth Rollins against CM Punk. And like you said, those two guys they have the gift of gab, like The Rock. They can go off script and make it work. They're that good on the mic. And
How much did you feel that error where CM Punk was talking about his daughter and his wife with the bracelet? How much did you feel Seth Rollins I almost felt like these two guys legitimately don't like each other.
They don't, right?
But that was cinematic gold.
Yeah, you could feel it. You can feel it in the air. And maybe that's what makes their chemistry work. That they're both gifted performers, but they're great on the mic, but they also genuinely don't like each other. And it comes through. It's not one of those things where you're like, well, this is just a promo. No, there's something there. There's a natural dislike for one another that comes through. And it just builds up the heat.
And then I got to finish. We're going to wrap up. We have a couple minutes, but man, I knew it was happening. I knew it was coming, and it still gave me chills, and I still loved it. End of Monday Night Raw, that great storyline they've built up with Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio.
Yes.
During a tag team match. And Dom's been pushing her away and saying no and saying no and saying no. And finally, it looks like he's giving in to her. He's on top of them. They're forehead to forehead, nose to nose. Look like they're about to make out. And I'm about to have to hide this last segment from my children at home.
Right.
And all you hear is, "This is what brutality." And Rhea Ripley comes out, and it's just, perfect. Perfect segment.
Mommy's back.
I loved it.
I loved his reaction. Liv Morgan's reaction, the way she took off, she just bolted. I love all of that. It was so good that all I could think about was, man, I can't wait till next Monday. I can't wait till next Monday. I gotta, because I know she's gonna. My guess is she comes out and she starts the show. It would shock me if she did not start the show.
I'm not kidding when I tell you this. They've cooked, and from adding the social media perspectives into it, with being on Twitter and Instagram and keeping in character in these conversations that they're having in these posts. Triple H is cooking. Gotta give him all the credit. Or should I say, The Rock is cooking? Because if you've seen the behind the scenes, The Rock is literally taking credit for absolutely everything, which has gotten so many fans to dislike him even more, which is really funny to me. But did you see the behind the curtain?
I didn't see that.
Oh, if you watch it, you're gonna cringe at how much it was supposed to be leading up to WrestleMania. Bro, it's 3 minutes of Roman Reigns. It's 30 minutes of The Rock. I seen this happening, and I had to step in, and I didn't feel right about it, and I decided to do this. Dude, it's so much of him giving himself credit for things, and they're making memes about it and joking about it. They're like, I seen Braun Breakers coming up so strong, so I decided Sami Zayn would take him down. They're doing memes like that, and it's just really funny.
I just think that it also adds to the story that people dislike Rock. Rock is committed to being this heel again.
Yeah.
So I think it all just works.
Well, that's it. That's our morning show this morning. Mo, appreciate you hopping on with me.
Appreciate you.
Chris will be back tomorrow. If you guys need anything, listen, give us a like, a share, a follow. We appreciate it. I'm going to send it over to my man, Mo. Mo Better, close us out.
Thank you guys for joining me and Gene this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Wire to Wire Sports Podcast will be tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us. Thanks, guys.